to record you for the YouTube, you can just let us know and we'll pause the recording while you do yours.
Yep.
And then we'll post the PowerPoint slides somewhere online so people can still see if they want to.
So we just started recording, so welcome to those who are watching this asynchronously. We're just about to get started with the pitch fair. So without further ado, let's do it. So first up, we have Race Royale by Ian and Derek. Are you guys ready?
I am.
Is Ian here as well? Or are you going to be pitching it by yourself? Derek, are you pitching it by yourself today, or is Ian Levine coming as well? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Murray. I think Derek may have dropped out or something.
Okay.
Derek, MIA.
Derek. Okay. So
The internet just killed itself.
Oh.
There you go. Derek is back. We can hear you.
I mean, do you want someone else to go first, and I can go see if Ian's like having a problem or something? Or do you want me to just?
If you're comfortable pitching it by yourself, that's fine. We don't need both of you, but if that was the plan, then we're perfectly happy to push you guys to the back, and then you can do yours later.
I would be fine to do it by myself, but it's more so his game. I've kind of hopped onto his project, so
Sure.
If you could push us to the back, that'd probably be good then.
We will do that.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay, so then our first one is now Milla and the Demon King. So
yeah. Can we have the person?
Yep, I'm here.
Awesome.
Hey.
So do you want me to share my screen, or is that how this?
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have the person presenting share their screen with their presentation and maybe turn their camera on if they're comfortable with that. There you are. Hi. So yeah, we'll let you do your presentation. We'll stay quiet for a little bit.
Yeah. So if you could just enable screen sharing.
I will. I'll give you screen sharing permissions. Just a sec. Let's see. Where is Richard? Just bear with me for a second. I'm still trying to find the button. There we go.
Okay,
cool.
I see it.
There you go. Now can you share?
Yep.
Wicked.
Oh, I'm going to go into. Let me just see. There's a presenter view in here. Hold on.
It's the top right corner, and we'll give you the big button up there.
Oh, I see. Okay, well, let me just rearrange this window here so I can see my slides. Yep. Well, hi everyone. I'm Richard, and today I'll be presenting my project, Milla and the Demon King. So I've been in this club for about 2 years, and I've pitched 3 projects in that time. Well, actually, technically 3 times before this, but it was the same project, and I'll get to that. So the previous project that I had was called Father Time Skeleton Crew, which was supposed to be a 3D space combat game that I was going to use to build with leftover assets from a previous personal project. So initially, I thought that it would be easier to make than a 3D platformer, since the collision physics and orientations aren't such a big problem in a space combat game. But in practice, it turns out all the assets took a really long time to make. And we actually got to a stage where we recorded voice lines for the project, but it got so complicated that eventually we couldn't get any new members on board, and through attrition, we lost most of the team by the second semester. So then I decided to start over, and this is what I came up with. What I'm proposing is a narrative-driven Metroidvania made in Unity, and we'll focus on large interesting maps and movement mechanics. We'll have NPCs and collectibles. There's going to be a story to this, and when I came up with the project, I realized that previously I was not really organizing the teams optimally. So this time around, I want to integrate the teams so that we know more about what each member is doing. So to make this easier, I also decided to pre-build a lot of the systems that we'll be using. So far, these are multi-purpose expandable systems that will be easy to explain, and because I made them all, I also have a good design Bible going already. So as I worked on the project, I realized that 2D is much easier because the sprites are much easier to make compared to any 3D models. The visual style is easy to define early on. Like, one of the problems I had with the 3D project is that while we had a lot of talented 3D modelers, we had difficulties communicating a visual style to stick to. Because we're only working in 2 dimensions, our physics is going to be much simpler. And even though I built the original demo using the unlit default pipeline, in the past couple of weeks, I've migrated the project over to URP to take advantage of 2D lighting and other materials. And finally, computationally, Unity 2D is much easier to run. So as a comparison of how quickly a 2D development can go, here's the previous project after 3 weeks of work. So in this, what you can't see here, of course, is the movement script and some very rudimentary weapons, but that ship in the crosshairs, it didn't have any AI associated with it. It was just floating in space. Now, by contrast, just with me working alone for 3 weeks on the project, we already had some decent looking environments, indoor and outdoor transitions, attack animations. I keep hearing chat. Should I open that now? You know, I'll wait till the end to check chat here. And yeah, we also had the enemies by the 3 week mark. And even the NPCs, I was starting to put together dialogues. And as the project stands today, there is already a playable demo up on itch.io, and it has all the basics we need to make the game. And recently, like I said, I've moved the project to the universal rendering pipeline to take advantage of the new tool sets. So if we look at the screenshot from last night, you see that the project now has 2D lightings and shadows. And where is the chat window? Ah, there it is. Okay, so currently we have all of the attacks and movement skills, all the basics ones anyways, and they're fully animated. And currently what I'm trying to work on is the skeletal animations. And unfortunately, this is where the first slowdown in this style turns out to be who are willing to do animation and also to create some of the assets that we're going to need moving forward. So I'm looking for mostly animators, and so throughout this, yeah, so for our first few meetings, I plan to get everybody caught up on how the current systems work. And throughout, I hope people will learn about 2D physics, how to create UI, sprites, animations, and also the save system. Yeah, I'm open to discussing ideas for enemies and other gameplay elements. And and I'm hoping we'll be able to build some of them live during our meetings. Some of the other tasks I might want are people to do sprite work, sound effects, music, and maybe voice lines, even though I don't have a good track record with those. And by the end of the semester, I want to remake the first boss, because if you were to download the demo now, you see that the animations and attacks are quite janky on that one. I want to add 2 human enemy types plus 1 human boss with another arena, 2 more NPCs, and this would all help to move the overall story forward for the game as well. So here are my contacts, and I'll be taking questions in the chat now. Okay. Looks like there's no questions.
Yeah, clap, clap, clap. Very good. Thank you, Richard.
Wicked. If you guys want to get involved in Richard's project, check out the Mill and the Demon King voice channel on Discord after the pitch fair. Richard, if you could be in there after answering some questions about your project, then that would be
Yeah, there's already a few questions in the chat for Richard, I think. If he wants to
amazing.
quickly answer them now. I think they want to know a bit about you. You didn't really talk about yourself that much.
So one of the questions was, will we be spending around 3 weeks learning the project? And Richard's response was onboarding could probably be done in the first week.
Yeah. So what I was mentioning in the slides about 3 weeks is that was the amount of progress that was done in 3 weeks relative to what could have been done in a 3D project. So yeah, 2D is just generally faster.
Yes. Assets are definitely easier in 2D.
Oh,
Yeah.
What year are you in? Oh, I'm in, this is the 5th year of my PhD, so I'm a lot older than a lot of.
Cool stuff. If there are no more questions, we're going to move on to our next pitch, which is actually my pitch. So I will share my screen and I'll do that one now. All right. Here we go. Can everyone see my screen here? Thumbs up. I need to open the chat. Yep, cool. Okay, so I will get started. So this is a sort of untitled project that I've been working on for 3 days called The Hook Game. So my name's Murray. I am a 2nd year computer science specialist student. And this is my 3rd actual game project. But aside from that, I am making an engine in C++, which has been kind of my quarantine project for the past couple months. I'm got some Unity skills, some programming skills being in CS, and very simple 3D modeling stuff as well. So the hook game, you might be wondering, what's the hook? Well, here's the hook. The hook is a hook, and more complexly, it's a physics-based single-player 3D platforming game. You play as a pirate, and the pirate has a grappling hook, and you can do 2 things with this grappling hook. You can left-click to grapple 2 things like you normally would with a grappling hook, or you can right-click to pull things to you, and they will fly through you and go wherever. So, for example, if I'm standing here and I grapple an enemy that's down here with right click, then they will fly up and through me and then hit anything that's above me, kind of thing. And so that's where the physics part comes in. Is the goal of the game is to, kind of like Spider-Man, you're kind of throwing stuff around, and you're going to try to slam enemies into obstacles to kill them. And so the idea is the main character of the game can't actually damage the enemies directly. The goal is to use your positioning and your grappling hook to throw enemies into spikes or fire or traps or any of that sort of stuff to make for some interesting platforming physics puzzles. So here's a little a little diagram I made. So this is like a very, very simple level where there's spikes on the ceiling, there's a shark, which is an enemy, and then there's a pirate guy. And so there's a little grappling point here. And so the idea with this level is you'd grapple to this thing, you could grapple the shark up and he'd fly through you into the spikes, and then your momentum carries you through this grappling point and then to the end. And obviously, like, it's platformers, so you can move and jump on top of this, and this kind of movement option is like very simple, very easy to learn, and can make for some cool puzzles. So technical details. To make the project, going to be using Unity 3D. Why 3D if it's a platformer? Well, that's because I wanted to get better at using Unity 3D as opposed to like 2D stuff. So modeling and 3D physics and things like that are something I've not really worked with that much in the past. So I'm excited to try that with this project. Blender for modeling, or if you are a modeler and you want to work on the project, then you can use whatever software you want as long as it exports to Unity files. And using GitHub for version control is something we're doing as well, or Git for version control, but that's not listed here. And looking at developing for keyboard and controller because of the nature of like the platformer plus 2 extra buttons. It's very like translatable between keyboard, mouse, and controller, because you have left and right click on mouse, and then you have left and right trigger on controller, and those would do the same thing. So it could work on both. So what is our minimum viable product for this project looking like? Well, I want to have grappling to enemies and objects, and I want to have pulling enemies with the grappling hook. Those are the core mechanics of the game. And then jumping and moving as well would be great. I actually did a little prototype where I've got some of this stuff sort of implemented, but we'll look at that if you want to continue with the project and sort of figure out more about it. I can show you more after the pitch fair. So levels, looking to have a few levels that test simple spikes, kill boxes, and enemies, and I want to have some physics-based puzzles in those levels. And for art, 3D models would be great. But honestly, for the minimum viable product, I just want to get a proof of concept down first. So if there's no artist working on the project, that's okay. We can use placement art and then figure it out once we have the core mechanics down. So music would be great too, but not necessarily required for the proof of concept that I'm looking to make. So the team, not really existing yet, but hopefully we'll get a team together. So far it's just me. I do like programming stuff. I can make some tools and do some gameplay stuff. And I'm looking for more programmers, 3D artists, 2D artists, musicians, level designers, or anybody else who's interested in helping out. Specifically, if you're like in physics as like a course or a program, that'd be great, because I'm kind of lost when it comes to specific like physics equations and things, so that could be helpful. But really, you don't have to have any skills to participate in this project, just looking for anyone who's interested in helping out. So this is what our schedule would look like. So on weeks 1 to 4, I want to have the basic systems sort of done. So grappling, pulling, enemies, spikes, moving, jumping, all that. 4 to 8, I'd love to get some levels going. So, you know, level like tile editors and things like that. So we can easily make levels from like .txts or whatever. And testing and polish for the last 2 weeks. And we would meet on the GDDC Discord. We will pick a time that works for everyone, and yeah, do it from there, possibly during these Tuesday meetings. Book game, that's it. That was sort of the brief. Any questions? Is the game in C# because it's Unity? Yeah, so all the scripting is going to be done in C#. Yeah, but don't let that discourage you. Like C# is like, I've never learned C#, but Unity is just like kind of easy to use with C# because the logic flows kind of naturally. So as long as you like have a little bit of programming experience, it'll make sense to you. So it's still functioning like a side scroller. What's the 3D element? So the 3D element is that it's technically in Unity 3D. So it's entirely side scroller. In fact, in my proof of concept, I have the x-axis locked on all main characters and things, but I wanted to do it in 3D just so that I'm familiar with the 3D systems. But there's no 3-dimensional movement in this game. And also, I just wanted to say that I did it in 3D because honestly, like, if you're looking for internships and things like that, it helps to have a project in 3D depending on where you're looking. So what kind of music are you looking for? Could be fun to do some swashbuckling pirate tunes. That sounds awesome. I haven't really thought about what kind of music would work, but that's something we can talk about as a team. And I haven't really figured out like a theme or like a visual style or musical style for the game yet, because I don't know. I'd love it to be about pirates because I think that fits the grappling hook thing. Can the character move apart from grappling? Yep, so you can move and jump just like Mario or just like a normal platformer, but the grappling hook adds an extra movement element, so you can get up places or you can get down quickly or side to side or whatever. Can I participate in two projects at the same time? Just totally. As long as you don't overwhelm yourself, yes, you can participate in two projects at the same time. I would just tell the team leads that you're doing that, just so they know that you might not have as much time to commit to either one of them. Is this third-person free camera or a side-on platformer? So it's a side-on platformer. It's going to look something similar to this diagram I've created. Yeah, there you go.
I think they call that a 2.5D platformer.
2.5, yeah.
Yeah,
that's
the new Donkey Kong Country games.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, we might add elements in that axis, but for now, I just love to get the sort of basics down and then work from there. Because that could be a cool way of moving between 3D layers, is using the grappling hook to get back or forward towards the camera kind of thing. Can you join follow project without any guarantee of contributing? I'm working on my own side projects, so we'll probably spend more time on that. Totally, you can. Yep. I would just say, like, most projects are very lenient on like what they actually require, and so yeah, you totally can.
Yeah, well, some of the pitch leads might have like certain expectations or requirements for you. Like, we're not forcing them to accept everybody, but like I think most of the pitches that we have today, as far, like all of them as far as I know, just one is like anybody who wants to participate.
So we are actually kind of short on time, so we're going to move quickly to the next pitch, which is Lofi Maker. So, Raimi Zhang, do you want to share your own screen, or would you like to have us share the presentation, because that's a possibility as well? Thanks for all the great questions, guys.
I can share my own screen.
Yep. Okay. Go ahead. Are you able to do it?
Just give me a second.
With the permissions. Yeah. Cool. And I don't want to rush you, but I didn't realize how much time I was taking with my own presentation. So we can. I think it's fine though. We can go. Go a little late if we need to, as long as that's.
Well, good. if we're going by U of T time, we can start the Unity tutorial at 6:10. So that gives us a bit of extra time.
Yeah. Good point.
Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, hey guys, my name is Raimi, and this is a pitch for the project Lofi Maker. So a little bit about me. I'm a first-year CS student. I really like singing, making music, and League of Legends. I know a bit of basic JavaScript web dev, and I am pretty familiar with music production, and I also have some basic drawing skills. Yeah, so about this game, so this is gonna be my first time making like any game ever. So very like new to this whole thing, so I wasn't really sure like what would be considered realistic if in like the worst case scenario I would have to do it by myself. So if this is like too simple, there are many ways we can like make it more complex, but otherwise, yeah. So it's single player, kind of like dress up game like gameplay, where you sort of like click through and choose different visual settings for the room. So like the time of day, the furniture, the cat, the girl, like her hair, whatever. And then each visual element of the room has like a music element that's associated with it. So for example, the cat would be the beat, the time of the day would be like the piano chords, or like the girl is the melody, like different samples, like ambience, could be like rain, forest, whatever. And so changing the visual element will also change the oral element. So this is kind of like a really dumb looking mock-up of what it would look like. We could have like a audio visualizer at the bottom there, and you just like click on these different visual elements to choose or select a different musical element. So technical details, I honestly like wasn't sure. So like this is super basic. If anyone knows better, I would love to be informed. But definitely want to be using Unity to just like practice and learn because that's a skill I'd like to acquire. And so minimal viable product. So mechanics, very simple. Art, definitely anime or 8-bit or whatever the artist is familiar with. At least 3 color or design options for each element of the room, and like maybe animations if we find ourselves having enough time. For sound, all music elements need to be in like the same BPM and key, just because that's the only way you can have like building blocks, musical building blocks that would make sense where they all fit together. And so like multiple different drum tracks, melody tracks, chord tracks, blah, 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 blah. So we want at least like 3 options for each element. And so for the team right now, it's just me. I'm pretty familiar with music production. I learning Unity, and I can do like concept art as well. So people I'm looking for is like someone who's good at art, potentially someone who knows how to animate and programmer, someone who's also interested in lo-fi beat making. I definitely prefer to have a smaller team because I know things can get really difficult to manage when the team is bigger. And so for development schedule, I'm honestly like, I'm not experienced with game development. So again, this is just kind of like what I'm guessing things would be like. And definitely I feel like this is a very asset heavy game. So like most of the work will be centered around the assets because the mechanics are like click, right? So yeah, and team meetings every week during club meetings. Otherwise we can just communicate on Discord. Yeah, does anyone have any questions? I'm also down to have like a team of total noobs, like where we're just like 3 noobs, just like working on this together. Like that would be super fun too.
Can I just ask my question here?
Yeah, go ahead.
So just you're making all of like the lo-fi beats then?
I could, but it would be dope to have someone on the team who is like also interested in lo-fi beat making because it is truthfully not that difficult. So if there's anyone who has interest, that would be cool too.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Let me take a look at the questions here. How long are the musical elements? I think we could probably do like 8-bar or 16-bar loops. And then like as you're doing the game, obviously it would just like be looping infinitely. Would the end goal be more music creation centric? You mean for the project or for the game? Because for the project, I think definitely over the game. I think sort of like an outcome that people could have is like you could at the end like export like a video or something of your like customized art in addition with your customized lo-fi beat. Sort of similar to like how there's like dress up games where people like to like share photos. I mean, if they do, share like images of like their customized characters. Yeah. Would my experience in playing piano be helpful to make lo-fi beats? For sure. Yeah, definitely.
All right, that was a great pitch. That's a very interesting project. I'm excited to see where it goes.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Round of applause.
Thank you.
All right, so next up we have Val with the cool RPG game. Val, are you good to share your own screen?
Yeah, I can do that.
Cool. So there's a couple more questions for the lo-fi game. So if you wouldn't mind answering those in the chat, thanks. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I don't want to spend too much time on all the pitches because I don't want to run out of time.
Okay. Everybody can see this, right? All right. So I'm making a cool RPG game I'll start by just introducing myself. My name is Val Rossell. I'm a third-year CS specialist. I'm minoring in English, math, game dev, AI, everything. So I've already done 3 Java games that you can find on my itch.io page. There's GIFs from them on the right there, and 2 of them. I've done like Python, Java, C++ programming, and I'm also okay at art, music, writing, some of my favorite games down there, and interests. Anyway, moving on. So the game I'm going to be working on is just a single-player RPG with 2D graphics. You know, if you've played like some of the earlier Final Fantasy games, can you guys see my mouse when I'm like waving it around and stuff? Okay. Yes. Oh, sorry. Ian's talking to me on Discord. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, early Final Fantasy games, you run around, you have a random battle, you go in and you fight like this. I don't want to do like a retro aesthetic kind of thing because I feel like that's been overdone a lot because like with the existence of RPG Maker and everything. And I like drawing like hand-drawn like little cartoon characters, so we could do like a kind of Castle Crashers like art style. Anyway, there's very few details in this about like what the specific setting or plot or characters are going to be. That's because I want to collaborate with the team and get a lot of other input, a lot of other people's input. Like I don't know if it's going to be like a medieval game, horror game, sci-fi or whatever. Anyway, here's a little drawing I did to show you like kind of turn-based battle system I wanted to design. Anyway, moving on. So we're going to be using Unity 2D. I don't expect that I'll be contributing to programming too heavily if I get a couple of programmers in. I assume a lot of you guys are programmers because I think there's a lot of computer science students. Like I said, I'm a computer science student as well, but I haven't really used Unity much. I don't really like Unity that much. Don't have much experience. So if I were programming it by myself, I'd probably use something more like different. But since it's probably better for group work and for less experienced people to use Unity for this kind of project. For version control, I like using GitHub. I think Unity might have some kind of built-in like collaboration feature, but I'm not really sure how that works. So I'll just say GitHub for now. I love Trello. Trello is one of my favorite websites. That's where you like have like little post-it notes. Oh, I can show you guys. You have like little post-it notes to have like game deadlines. Say like here I have like what to do, decide on game details, and there's like a checklist like have group meeting, decide on setting everything. This is a really great way of tracking the work you're doing, of dividing it up between like a large number of people and paying attention to what is being done and what still has to be done. Anyway, yep. So the minimum viable product, we're going to have a fully implemented overworld traversal and battle system. This is a lot of programming. Like it's not like this isn't super ambitious, I don't think. This is like images of like Final Fantasy VII in the side. This is going to be a 2D game, so you're not going to have like 3D models running around, but it's just an example of a similar kind of game. Anyway, we'll have one medium-sized explorable area, one player character, one enemy, one boss. We'll have environment art, and then music. I can do music. I've done music for some of my previous projects, if nobody else really wants to. Anyway, team. So I'm planning on mostly doing art and general design personally. That's just because I'm thinking about what I expect other people to be interested in. I can do music, I can do programming, I can do everything. Like if nobody joins, I'll still be able to make a game. Anyway, I'm mostly looking for programmers, artists, music people, pretty much anybody who's interested in this kind of project. I don't have super high standards. Like I said, my expectations for the team members are pretty low. That's not me trying to be mean. That's just saying there's very little pressure. If you want to join and you're not sure how much you can actually contribute, it's still cool for you to come and hang out and see what you can do. Anyway, development schedule, there it is. I don't really feel like going into all that. You can just pause and look at it later if you want to. Anyway, that's all I really have to say. Cool RPG game. That's also a working title. Once we decide on like more specific information, we can come up with an actual title. Anyway, my Discord's there, my email, and now I guess I'll take questions. Oh, I've had the chat closed this whole time. I'm gonna stop screen sharing now. Okay. Somebody asked, somebody said, oh, why is the frog so much more detailed? It's because I said I was gonna do art, and I want to prove, and I felt like I had to prove to you guys that I can like kind of draw, because I was supposed to be like just like a really low effort sketch, but I felt like going a bit extra on that. Okay, role playing game lol, yes, that's a temporary title. Is it going to be 2D platform or a 2D Zelda-like movement? Zelda-like movement. I don't know if you guys have played like Chrono Trigger or early Final Fantasy, like Super Nintendo Final Fantasy games. It'll be kind of similar to that, I think. Story background for the RPG. You probably asked that before I said. That's all. Like most of the story and setting and everything is going to be something that we decide on as a team. I don't really want to just come in and tell you guys what we're doing. I want it to be a very collaborative project. So. Looking forward to working with you guys. Anything else?
All right. Thank you, Val. Great pitch. Check out that one after the pitch fair. Val will be in Discord talking about her game. Cool. So next up we have Race Royale. I see Ian has joined now, and Derek, I hope you're still here. You guys can come on and do your pitch now. Would you rather I share the screen for you guys, or would you rather do it yourself?
We can share our screen. Yeah.
Cool. Go ahead.
Okay. That's good. You guys see that? All right. So our game is called Race Royale. Okay?
I'm Ian.
And I'm Derek.
Okay, so a little bit about us. I'm a first-year computer science student. I love board games and I've been designing my own from a young age. I'm pretty good at Python and Java. I have some experience with Unity, but most importantly, I'm a great communicator and I'm open to everyone's ideas.
I'm Derek. I'm also a first-year computer science student. I've always dreamed about making video games and hope to one day open my own video game studio. And I've been working with C++, PHP, and Unity for in the range of 4 or 5 years now.
So what is Race Royale? It's going to be a 2-player mobile racing game, sort of a combination of Clash Royale and Mario Kart. You'd have a bird's eye view of the track, and when turning, you'd only have one button to turn your car. This is done to simplify the controls on a mobile device. When you're turning left, it would just turn left for you, and when the car needs to turn right, it would turn right for you by holding down.
But it also adds a good element of skill because you have to be able to get the turn just right. Otherwise, you're overshooting it or undershooting, right? So within it, players build a deck full of items before the match. These have your different car models and items. Items rotate through your hand, similar to what you have in Clash Royale if you've ever played that. And you got to play out. You got to spend your rev to play the item.
Which is like our equivalent of Elixir from Clash Royale. So rev would be collected as you go around certain checkpoints on the track, which I think we're going to keep in a certain place. And the rev also has a certain clutch mechanic that comes with a lot of racing games, in that the player behind will always collect one more rev when any given checkpoint. This is going to allow for weaker players to have a chance, as well as creating a second strategy where you sort of stay behind.
Right, you stay behind, store up your rev, and then just boost your mind off at the last minute. Of course, the cars all have different stats, so you got different play styles. Some of them are going to be super fast. Some of them are going to be able to like bump other cars out of the way, all that good stuff. And the first player to make it around the track, X amount of times, or if you're overlapping your opponent for a long time, they win. That way you cut down on people being like, oh, I know I'm going to lose. We're just drawing out my misery here.
Feel like, okay, we'll get the screenshots.
The screenshots, for whatever reason, wouldn't fit on Google Slides. So you gotta,
How do I like?
so we got them open another tab here.
So This is an example of sort of in-game what one of the player's screens would be. This is more so like before the game started. I think, yeah. So the revs on the left, your sort of cards are in the bottom left, steering's on the bottom right, and the sort of play fields in the mid center screen.
All right. For technical details, we're going to be building this in the Unity game engine. We're going to use Google Drive to share art, assets, other large files, music, sound, whatever we need. And we're going to use Git and GitHub to manage the code base.
We'll have 2D sprite-based car graphics, cartoony style. And then again, this is going to be played on mobile, hopefully through local networks.
Yeah. For a minimum viable product, for the mechanics department, we're looking to have, you're racing against opponents, you're throwing items out onto the track, and some driving physics that are maybe not realistic, but at least fun and masterable, but also not terribly hard to use.
Art-wise, we want to have at least one stadium or racetrack finished. We want to have a menu screen, maybe 2 or maybe even 3 cars. We want to have item visuals and like basic particle effects such as drifting. Things like deck building screens are maybe a future goal, but not in the minimum viable product.
And I will note about the art, there's probably not going to be a lot of actual in-game animations. Most of the animations are likely going to be done using Unity's system. So instead of an actual rotating set of sprites, it'll just be moving it around the track and whatnot. And audio, we hope to have some background music and sound effects in there. But in all honesty, that might be a bit of a stretch goal for the moment because it's not what either of us focus on.
So who's in the team so far? I'm going to be the team lead, and I'll sort of just like have the overall vision, know exactly what I want with the game, and I will do some programming though.
Okay. And I'll be the developer lead. I've got many years of experience in programming, so I'll be able to keep that all down pat, making sure our code stays clean and also works efficiently.
And then who are we looking for? Sort of similar to everyone else, we want some art leads, some artists in general. Any developers, specifically Unity would be great, and specifically people who've developed for mobile would be really awesome. And then sound designers, of course.
Yeah, that's just a plus if there are any hanging around. For the development schedule, it's just real simple. We're going to take about the first 6 or so weeks to try and meet the MVP. That's honestly going to be quite bare bones. We want to get a playable product before we, start putting a lot of extra features on top. After that, we hope to have about 2 weeks left to maybe add some needed stuff, finalize art, get all that sort of stuff integrated together. And then the last 2 weeks, play testing, polishing, balancing stats and whatnot. And within the team, we're probably going to have at least one meeting a week. It'll be kind of short, more so just where are you at? How are you doing? What are we stuck on? What's the next goal? That's Race Royale.
I don't remember seeing the what is it slide. That happened.
Yeah, we did that. Don't worry.
Cool.
No, open the chat back up now.
Okay, cool. Any questions?
Some up there. Okay.
So will it be more Clash Royale than Mario Kart?
Oh, it's both.
I'd say it's very similar to Clash Royale in that it's like sort of there will be sort of strategy element of like building a deck and then learning how to play it for your car model and for your strategy. But there's definitely going to be the Mario Kart element in like boosts and shells, even if they have different sort of names. But
it's not like a traditional racing game where you're not going down a track and steering really precisely and all that sort of thing. It's the race is almost just kind of a backdrop for what you're doing with the cards and whatnot.
So in the deck building phase, what will the cards do in the game?
As you play the cards, it'll be, you know, giving your car a boost, maybe it'll be putting out a oil slick or making you jump over another car, you know, all sorts of abilities.
Yeah, there's a huge range of what we could do for that. We actually have a document that we could show after, just like with all of our ideas for cards.
All right, thanks guys. This is a very interesting game. It's a cool concept, and I don't think that top-down racers are explored enough. So this is cool. I'm excited to see this project. All right, so we have one more pitch. So this one doesn't have a PowerPoint, but Brenda, are you here? Do you want to talk about your idea? Brenda Sherwood, are you here? Okay, so I don't think Brenda is here. Yeah, so I guess if Brenda's not here, so that's it for the pitches. Thank you to everybody who did a pitch. We're gonna take some time. What do we have? We've got about a little less than 10 minutes before the Unity session. I think we're gonna start the Unity session at 6:10 to give everyone time to go talk to those whose projects they're interested in. So I'd ask that now the team leads go onto Discord, go into your project's channel, and just sort of sit there and answer questions about how you can help people get involved and make a strategy for that. So we're going to take a quick 20-minute recess from this. So for those of you who aren't attending the Unity session at 6:10, yes, the Unity session will be recorded, but for those of you who aren't attending this session, you guys are all good. The meeting is technically done, but if you'd like to get involved in one of these amazing projects, please reach out to the team lead in their Discord voice channel. And team leads, I'd ask that you go sit in your voice channels for about 10-20 minutes and give a quick breakdown of what your project is about. What are we going to cover in the Unity session? Unity session, that's a question for Darren. Darren, are you here? Do you want to talk about that for a sec?
Yeah, the Unity session is going to be, it's aimed at the very beginning of Unity for ultra beginners. We'll go over the basic interface and the basic structure of a Unity game, and ultimately the goal is to get you into a place where you can start learning from any source you can find. So it'll be very basic though, but hopefully useful for those just starting out.
And I'm sure if you're not too experienced in Unity, I'm sure you'll learn something if you go. It was very informative last year. Even though I had a little bit of experience with Unity, I still learned quite a bit from that presentation. Okay, so yeah, everyone can break off now into your Discord chats if you'd like to be involved in a project. Team leads, head on into those chats and start talking about your project and telling people how they can get involved. Thanks for coming, everybody, and I'll see you at 6:10 for the Unity session if that's something that interests you. All right, peace.